listening. Listening can be done parallelly with your work, like if you're eating, if you're walking, exercising, and all those things. So that's really helpful. Reading PM book, it's a kind of great understanding of the linguistics, the verbose, the technicality of the management, and it's one of the most matured book available on the planet. So please go through it at least twice before starting up for the interview. They'll give you the exact words, the way I speak, the way we normally share these things in terms of project management, product management, service management, or in these process groups. So that'll be really great help for you, and that's why I'm insisting. So please have a listen to the audio files. If you can't read, if you can read, well and good, no problem. Reading is one of the best habit you can have, believe me. Reading at least 10 to 15 pages a day can really make you happy rather than anything else. And you can read whatever subjects you like, whatever reference material you like, and there are lots and lots of such things available on the internet. So let's not bind ourselves with whatever knowledge we can get through working. Start reading so you can have this additional knowledge collected by you itself. Okay, so let's revise yesterday's last session's working in terms of these three processes. To start with, we had a look at a process called develop project charter, and prior to that we had a look at this table where there are four process group: initiating process group, planning process group, executing process group, monitoring and controlling process group, and a closing process group. So all the project management processes, there are total 49 as such, and have been divided into these 5 process group. The knowledge area basically targets to a typical topic within the project management. Here we are trying to learn the integration management. So this is kind of initial start and overall the umbrella activity for the complete project. So develop project charter is basically talks about initiating the project, collecting the business document, the business case, the business management plan, the various statements of work, contracts, agreements that are formed between the development partner as well as client, right? Then we also take care, try to understand enterprise environmental factors. These are the factors which are affecting your enterprise to perform in certain way within the given region, within the given gamut of domain, within the given gamut of working. Then organizational process assets. These are the assets which help us to leverage our project efficiency to the greatest level. This can be something like templatization. This can be something like quality policies and processes which are actually disciplined within an organization. This can be something like flexi timing, the awards and recognition program, and so on and so forth. Okay, and this way, these inputs help us to build this project chapter. The tools we use is expert judgment, the SMEs, subject matter experts, center of excellences of the groups which we have formed within our organizations, which help us to make our project efficient, quality bound, and stick to the organizational policies and procedures as laid by the top management with the history of our organization. So the older the organizations, the better maturity it carries. And on top of that, this is not a linear, proportion, but still on top of that, we have a standard quality policies like ISO, CMMI, ITSM, various such policies we adopt as per our products, as per our domain of work, and so on and so forth. Then we had a look at how do we gather data. Actually, data gathering is an analyst domain, but as a project manager, we normally validate these data points in terms of have the brainstorming executed correctly, have we got all the data required for our design and elaboration purpose. Do we need any specific focus group, SMEs, or expert judgment to help us out to make sure we are in line with your client goals? Then plan some additional interview if you need. These interviews can be with a client, These interviews can be with the SMEs. These interviews can be with the vendors which are going to supply any third-party components to you. Then we have the managerial skill. How do we develop this managerial skill? So we need to understand the conflict management, the conflict within, the conflict with the team, the conflict with the all influencing people which we can directly manage. So we need to reduce the conflict to the minimum. As we know, as a human, we do generate conflicts whenever we try to put through our thought process. This is a generic, understanding or a generic, what you can say, thought process we have as a human psychology, you can say, right? So for that matter, how to reduce conflict? So we have conflict management. And then as a leader, how do I facilitate things to my team members? How do I manage my meetings to the basic necessity rather than time wastages? How do I plan the meeting within the team, within the client, within different stakeholders? So all these tools and techniques help us to basically start my project effectively, efficiently, and start getting these helps from different groups and try to understand the dependencies one after the another. Then we move to something like outputs. So what does project charter as in process group gives us? It gives us two things. The project charter, the document itself. It can be a Word document or Excel sheet, or many organizations have those SRS renamed as a project charter as well. So they call SRS as a project charter. Nobody can say.
गाड़ी है ये वो उसका ब्रदर है ना
Yes, ma'am. Nagina ma'am, do you have any question for me, madam? Okay, no problem. This seems to happen. Don't worry about that. So what we are looking at, what is the result of this process group? Why we do it? So there are two clear distinctive outputs. One is project charter, another is assumption log. Project charter is basically a Word document or an Excel sheet, or it can be the SRS, the Word document, which the business analysis team or business analysts have created earlier. So depending upon your organizations where you're going to join, the document name doesn't matter. The overall contents and its alignments for the effective project management is what we are learning here, right? And then we have assumption log. So whatever you assume, you try to make a list of it. And what this list gives you, this list gives you a clear, direct risk we are taking. Whatever we assume is a risk. In the morning, if I assume this route might be the least congested, so I can drive faster. This is the assumption, right? Now, what does the risk? It infers to a risk of delaying going office. This risk is normally materialized when there are various disturbances across that path you've chosen. It's a simple example I'm giving. Like this, we can deduce many such examples of how assumption can lead to a risk. So if somebody asks, how do you, create risk table or risk register? So we normally create our risk from assumptions. Whatever we assume institutes a risk, and that's how we need to have an assumption log from startup, from starting up the whole documentation process. That's why the initial document like project charter, BRD or SRS have this assumption log or a chapter on assumption. Anybody have any questions on develop project charter as of now?
No.
Okay, so let's move on to the next step. Here, need for project charter. We have discussed why we need a project charter, how we can convert SRS, SRD, BRD, BRS to a project management charter. And then we had a good look at how to write a project management charter as well. And I believe I've shared a normal template with you. Okay, again, that's a generic template. Whenever you join organization like Infosys, TCS, Wipro, you can be very sure like all these organizations have their template for BRD, SRS, BRS or charter, whatever they are implementing in terms of their project processes. And believe me, those templates will be a bit different from what you shared. It's a generic template. What these organizations have, a completely work specific, domain specific, and regional or strategy specific template for your current execution. They might have a number of project charter templates which can give a lead to a specific project charter template choosing for your project. Okay, and the PMOs of the world, the project management office of the world, or the quality department, internal quality department, or we call quality management service department, will help you to choose the right template. And then you just start the filling the blanks. You just do copy paste from the business analyst document if it's a separate document. So that's about project charter in depth. Then the next knowledge area we had a look at is develop project management plan. Now, as we are discussing, these are the umbrella activity. So this is the first project management plan I start building based on various document understanding I had till that day. And this continues. This is a live document. It means it gets updated every now and then. So whenever you are referring to a project management plan, you normally refer with a release date or a release label also in some organization. What is a release label? Let's say I release a project management plan on 5th May 2022. So the file can be referred as, give me the project management plan we have updated on 5th May 2022, archived and at such and such time. So there's only one file normally in a cloud archival to look for, to choose for. And as this is a continuously incrementing document, this keep increasing depending upon our discussion, depending upon clarity of the overall requirements, clarity of the project management processes, and so on and so forth. So we have to refer to these documents quite often. Now this project management plan can be a tool based as well. So there could be a Microsoft project management plan. There could be Jira project management plan. There could be Primavera project management plan. There could be Excel based project management plan. And all this project management plan lead to only one thing: how we are going to manage the project at hand, the project we are discussing here. Okay, let's try to understand the inputs, tools, and outputs. Okay, the inputs are project charter or BRD, BRS, whatever documents we have created, collected from a clients are the inputs to the project management plan. And the output from other processes. If you are in between, if you are just starting up, this can be your first plan you create. And believe me, this is in the process group of planning process group. This is the first step in my planning process group. This is important because this is a stepping stone for my planning. And planning takes you to the actual result objective. That's why planning group is one of the most important. But every other group is also important. It's not like that one carry the whole burden. But we need to understand, as a manager, we keep planning, we keep improving planning as a manager. So our basic instinct is management with a plan. And that's why planning process group, and within that within that develop project management plan is one of the most crucial first step we take. Okay, and here the inputs are project charter, business analyst documents or the documents collected from the client, output from other processes. Like if you are already in the middle of the project, then every cost management plan, every schedule management plan, every quality management plan will have some input to the project management plan, because this project management plan have normally work as an umbrella activity, and we'll see how. Okay, then of course the EEF and OPS, which basically guide us to understand the environmental dependencies, like the dependencies outside our organizations and the dependency within our organization. Okay, the tools and techniques we use are expert judgment, the SME and COEs of the world. Again, we revalidate the data gathering what we've done earlier. We try to have certain checklists to make sure we didn't miss anything, including the requirement checklist, the traceability of the world and everything. Then we do extra interview in case we need to get some clarification. These interviews can be within your organizations, or these interviews can be with the client as well, depending upon your queries, depending upon the clarity you need in a given point. And then here, of course, the PMI reiterates the need for a management skill in terms of interpersonal and team skill, like conflict management, facilitation, meeting management, and the meetings itself in terms of planning the meeting ahead of the time, managing that schedule of the team members also. What we miss, if you're not a manager, we normally miss the minutes of, whatever minutes consumed by a meeting. And believe me, within the project execution, this is one of the most crucial element we try to forget. So our project management should have a meeting, plan within itself, so that whatever minutes or hours we consume in these meetings are duly notified, so that we don't skip any effort done by any team members throughout the project lifespan. And that's why meetings are one of the most crucial element which is normally ignored by many, but it's crucial to the whole project life cycle or project life cycle planning, strategic update, and any and all update in that scenario. Then we had a look at output project management plan. As I told you, this can be a simple Microsoft project plan, that is MS project, or it can be a simple Excel sheet where you start planning this project in terms of the Gantt chart and everything, or it can be a tool specific project management plan like Jira, Primavera, and there are a dozen type of tools available, mature tool available throughout the industry. Again, this is also depends on the industry you work on. For manufacturing, we use Primavera. For software, we use MS Project or Jira. For startups, for an initial project management, we might use Microsoft Excel also. And we are going to learn how to build the Gantt chart with the Microsoft Excel if you don't have the Microsoft project, because it's a costly software by Microsoft. So we normally start with a raw project management plan within our Excel, which we have, right? Everybody have Excel, Word, and PowerPoint. So that way, we try to solve all these problems basic in a raw sense, and then within a step-by-step progressive manner, we'll move to the tools like Microsoft Project and Jira. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on develop project management plan?
No.
Okay. Please revise this thing. I'll release the recording of this as well, and please do read in the PM group. The last knowledge, the process area we discussed in our last session is direct and managed process work. This falls under the executing process group. This is the first executing process group. Planning, executing, and monitoring and control are go parallel with the complete project execution. So planning start with the project start, ends with the closing of a project, right? So planning start with the initiating and ends with the closing. Same thing with the executing process group, the monitoring and controlling process group. These processes runs in parallel with the project lifespan. Okay, so let's try to understand how do we manage project work. The inputs are project management plan at the given instance of a project. So if you are in between, you have so many project management plans to collect together. Then you have project documents like change log, lessons learned register, milestone list, project communication, project schedule, RPM, risk register, and risk report. Risk register is the list of risk which we have collected. The risk report is that risk analyzed for a given day, at a given instance, or for a given week also. So we have periodic risk reviews, and we'll learn those things in our risk management knowledge area. But just to understand here, we are trying to collect all the documents we have from the analysis phase, from the client supplied material, and the documents which we have created throughout our project executions. So it collects everything together and has an input in managed project work effectively. Then there are approved change requests. These are the change requests which we need to include in our project scope. And we'll learn about this thing in project scope management. Scope is the work which we are targeted to complete within a given time. So to all the scope, we attach a schedule. So when we attach schedule to a scope and add a resource, it's a project management plan. And that's how Microsoft Project or many project management tools work in the same way. First, task, scope, schedule, and resources. And these four gives you the actual cost, actual efficacy in managing the project. And that's how we're going to learn it step by step. Don't worry. If you can't remember right now, believe me, at the end of say next week or so, you will understand what I'm trying to say here. Okay. So change requests do add to these are the addition to the scopes. And these scopes basically will change the schedule, the overall people management, people allocation to the project, and so on so forth. So this is like very crucial and effective parameter as a scope. So whenever there are change requests, it's clearly indicate the proportional scope increase in your project. It can be decrease also, like this functionality move to phase 2 or the next sprint, and so on and so forth. So this way the change request can be a reduction effort also, but this is very far in few cases. Then of course we have EEFs and OPS to help us out to manage the project in the most effective manner. Then we take a help from our expert judgment, project management information systems, and of course we plan extra meeting if there's a need. Now let's try to understand PMIs. I have explained you, but I'll just revisit this thing, which will make sure we'll understand what is this PMIs is all about. Project management information system is a normally software or a part of web pages available within your organizations where we track each and every progresses, each and every departmental progress, each and every execution progress, each and every challenges within our organizations to be reported to the top management. The PMIs collect data from various other systems like attendance management system, leave management system, the project management system, the PMOs of the world, like how many projects are there, which projects is in the red, green, yellow. These are just the colors, demark the project in terms of slippages. And we'll learn about that thing in QMS, how to build this PMIs. But right now, just try to understand it's a software or a part of a software which normally shares the data with the top management. Okay, so this software is really crucial. So normally this software automatically collects data from software like Excel, project management, Primavera, and all other project management software. And these systems normally report to the top management in terms of how your single execution is working on ground. It doesn't collect huge amount of data. It's just simple 5, 6, or maximum 10 elements of data collected for a project. And we'll see how and what type of data the PMIS collects from you. Okay, and in some organizations, if they are not matured enough, you might need to enter these data at the end of the day. And that's a standard process. Now, previous to PMIS, we have something called status reporting. So I have to report to certain individuals as in our status of a project. Now, the PMIS does it for you automatically. So you don't have to send an email of a status report. But still in some organizations, there are status reports shared across via email or in one way or the other. But the PMIS can solve that problem for you if you use PMIS effectively. Then there are outputs. The outputs are the deliverables, what we need to create, like in terms of the result of a project. Those are our deliverables. Even all the documents like project management plan, the scope management plan, or every other plan can be a deliverable also, but that's delivered and kept in our cloud. In our cloud, in the sense wherever you are working, right? And the client, like if you're working in an Infosys and if you're working with a client like State Farm, you normally don't share each and every plan with the client because plan is in your internal tracking mechanism. It's an internal auditory proof, like whatever practices, processes, and policies you are following for executing your project. Now, these deliverables normally mention to the things which we give to the client most of the time, and that's a popular meaning of deliverables. But even within your organizations, your project management plan can be a deliverables, and it's normally gets updated every day. And we'll discuss how and when. But still, deliverables means anything which you have an ownership to be delivered at such and such time, at such and such milestone. Then we have work performance data. How you and your team are performing. You in the leadership position as a project manager, and other team members who are closely working with you. So your performance data is also monitored. Then we have issue log. Is there any challenge? Is there any new requirement which client trying to prioritize over the others, and so on and so forth. So all these conflicts, all these issues, all these challenges are normally mentioned in the issue log. Now every organizations have their way of managing these issue logs. They have a PMO review these things at the end of the day, or they have various other auditory functions which can help you with the issue logs as well. So issue logs are normally tackled by whoever external to your team in most of the cases. But it normally comes back to you in terms of, hey, if you've done this, then this might have been addressed earlier, and so kind of thing. So that's why issue logs are the best friend of project manager, where you try to notify the challenges out of your scope or out of your work boundaries. And we're going to learn about issue logs in our scope management, in our quality management system knowledge area as well. But here, just try to understand whatever issue challenges you face, you normally include in these issue logs. It's a part of it goes sideways with the assumption logs as well. So even issue can create a risk for you. So if there's an issue as in shortfall of laptops, like one of your team members don't have a laptop, so he or she is using older laptop. So performance can get hampered. It's an issue, right? You can't go to the market and procure a laptop. That's not your scope. That's not yours to do. So what you do, you add an issue log wherever the organizations normally, have you added, and put their issues with the team member. There are some challenges with the infrastructure allocated to them, and particularly this and this team member who is working at this and these positions have challenge of working on an older laptop, and give all the details which you feel correctly needed to get that laptop updated, or get a new one for that person, and so on. These things have to be notified through these channels. Then change request. As we discussed, client's function is to get the best system for him, right? So the executive from State Farm will always make sure there are as much as he likes the change request added to your sprints or added to your project plan.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Sorry, I had a quick question on the issue log. So you said usually issue log is managed by an external,
Right.
externally, but isn't the issue log not managed by the project manager, because he's managing the project and he's actually logging all the issues in that issue log, right?
Ma'am, I'll repeat what I have tried to say. I have said issue logs are the entities which are not, can't be managed, or not in scope of project management. Like I have just discussed an example of a laptop which is not performing adequately for a given team resources. Have you understand that example, madam? You as a project manager think you have let's say 8 team members with you, and one of the designers don't have a high-end laptops. Designer use software like Rational Rose, AutoCAD, and whatnot. So they need a bit of high-end laptops or high-end desktop. You learn via experience. But is it within your purview to either procure or upgrade that laptop? Do you have enough knowledge, or the what I can say instruments to do that? Do you think like that, man?
No, but that is fine. But this issue log not actually related? So is this then related to actually the project work?
Yes, ma'am. All the issues and challenges faced by a project manager, which is not in his purview, in his scope, in his knowledge area to address to, are normally mentioned to the issue logs. But some organizations do have even internal project management issue which are managed by the project mentioned in the issue log. So there is also a bit of
Yeah,
play.
so there'll be two kinds of issue logs, or
No,
that will
no, no.
be same issue log.
Let me tell you. All internal issues are normally managed by the project manager. So he normally doesn't mention here. He might have a list somewhere down on his laptop or desktop, like the issues I need to address today or something like to-do list. That's his personal purview, and which he believes he can address those. But if he can't, he'll put it to these issue logs. I'm just sharing knowledge with you in terms of experience. So even managers to-do list, a personal to-do list for the project can enter into issue log in some organizations. But normally, as far as PMI best practices goes, the issue logs are the list of the issues to be supported to the project manager by others. So this can be the infrastructure team, the audit team, the PMO team, the resource manager team, and the procurement team, and so on and so forth. So this is again part of the overall organizational process assets addressal system, if I may say so. These are difficult words, but yes, issue logs are normally external to your project. See, you do work for your organization, right? But at the end of the day, not everything is in your gamut of work, or not everything you can do on earth. Like the COVID, the vaccination. You can't invite anybody to the meeting unless he or she is vaccinated. That was the legal binding on every state within North American region, and I believe in Canadian region as well. So how do you address these things? You will address this thing, or you'll put this thing in your change in your issue log, where so and so resources yet to be vaccinated, so they were still attending the meeting remotely. HR, please guide me how to proceed on that. So what HR will do, the HR human resources manager will might contact them and tell them, where are you located? Can I get a appointment for you? And believe me, means there's a resource from Guru School in TCS who had a similar problem. So what the HR did, HR managed an appointment for her. She gone there, got vaccinated, and even TCS given her a couple of hours as a leave, paid leave. That's what we call, right? To get those things vaccinated. So should the project manager procure some vaccination and try to give the injection to the resource? What do you think, ma'am?
No,
Should
I
we
know,
do
I understand that is a different thing, right? But
any
then there can be some certain
issue?
things that are related to the project, but then if when you say that the project manager actually doesn't have an issue log for its own project, which the project manager can internally with the team has issues. Project manager can have issues inside the project, like within the project, right?
Right.
That I know project manager has that issue log. It's not the to-do list. Maybe that could be a different
Yeah, yeah.
issue
Give me a
log,
minute.
right?
Give me a minute. You make tea or coffee, whatever you make in the morning. What do you prefer in the morning? Tea or coffee?
Nothing. I don't take tea or coffee.
Oh man. Okay,
Plain
let's say
water.
okay, you
I
like
can
water.
give if I have to cut off, I can give a example of one of my previous projects.
Uh-huh.
Uh, in the issue logs, we've had external issue logs and internal issue logs.
Yeah,
Internal,
that's what I'm
external,
saying.
right? Like external, as in it depends project per se. Actually, it doesn't mean there is a set rule in all projects, because some of my projects have had it, some haven't. So external is like how he mentioned, right? Uh, the laptop is not there, or some configuration is not there. And internal, it can be like you're waiting on some other dependency of another team to give you some
Yeah,
information,
yeah,
and that person
exactly.
is missing or the team is not there. So these kind of issues have to be documented, so that when the client questions you later, it's all mentioned in document and signed off as such.
Yeah.
So this is very rightly said. And
Yeah,
thanks
that's
for
what I'm saying. Like we cannot say, I mean, I
let,
was not able to digest that
let
the
me
project manager has a to-do list and there's no issue log. I mean, can be to both, right? Yeah, as I think Randy, you did the input.
yeah, give me a minute and try to explain. As I told you, you like to drink a water and you like to drink, let's say, tap water which is filtered at your house. So you get up in the morning, put the glass under the tap and start the tap. But in many houses within North American region, we need to start that filtering system in the morning. So my first task, either it should have a timer or I'll go somewhere and start that button so that I'll have that drinking water from the tap for me, or start the AquaGuard or whatever water purifier you use. That's a step involved. Now you don't build a to-do list for starting up that button because it's a day-to-day process, and anyway you have to take care of it. Nobody else is going to help you out. Why I say external and why PMI says external, and why it's a best practice, because these are the issue logs which you need to notify to the other specifically. And in dependency scenario, you might include those things in issue log. Even yourself can track it or can tackle it. Why you mentioning there? To create an auditory artifact. You are right in that scenario, but not all things are normally included in the issue log, and that's the point I want to make. Okay, and whenever you join an organization, there are clear ways or demarcation which issue can or can't add to the issue logs, and they will train you on that. They will guide you on that. I'm just trying to basically share the best practice. Does that answer your confusion, madam?
Yeah.
And Nagina, madam, thanks for that excellent example. I think that clears it out. So where there is a dependency or wherever there's a work which is out of scope or we need help from others, we normally include it in an issue log. See, I'm also learning. Thanks a lot for you. Sure. And then the change request. Now these are again the issues reported by a client, additions or enhancement reported by a client. We normally feed it to something called CCB, Change Control Board. They do analyze. These are the group of analysts and a senior project managers where they do analyze the enhancement request, the additional request fed to you. What we do, we normally validate those such requests there. We try to schedule it and add it to a relevant sprint. And these are again in line with the whatever work we are doing for a current sprint, because we have a current sprint plan, right? So many tasks within so many days has to be completed by so many resources. That's a tight schedule. Now you can't add left and right change request or enhancement request. So what we do, we normally channel it to another sprint so that some tasks can be shifted to the next sprint and so on and so forth. So all these plans are shared across to make sure if there are any additions, subtractions, modification have to be respectively updated in this plan. And believe me, these plans are such a live documents. They get almost updated on a daily basis, if not hourly. In some complex big project, these plans get updated almost hourly basis, and so on. Then the project management plan update. Here they have mentioned any component. So it can be scope, schedule, cost, vendor supplier delay, laptop challenge, leave challenge, sick resource challenge, and all those things are included in our project management plan or reflected in a project management plan in a subsequent way. Then the project documents update. The activity list, these are the work item or these are the task lists to be completed within the given schedule. Then we have assumption log. As we already discussed with the assumption log, I'll not repeat the same scenario. But assumption log is a basics for my risk creations. Then lessons learned register. These are the knowledge archival system. So if I'm following any best practices, I'll mention it over here. Then requirement documentation. If there are any additional requirement enhancement which are approved from CCB, I'll add to my requirement documentation, requirement traceability matrix, and the requirement list of it. Then I have risk register. These risks are basically, as I told you, whatever I think in terms of can be detrimental or positive to my project, I'll mention it as a risk. And then we'll learn in depth how we tackle this risk, how we audit these risks in a periodic manner in a knowledge area called project risk management. Then we have a stakeholder register. Now this is a new entity. We had a look at it in last session, but let me revise for you. All the stakeholder, whoever is interested party to your project, have a list here, and it's the list is called stakeholder register. Now the most important part from the stakeholder register for a project manager is the client's approval authority. So whatever you change in terms of requirement list, any document update, any plan update, you normally distribute or disseminate those information to these crucial stakeholders and acquire their approval to go ahead. Now you have to do it proactively. So you need to understand which is the right way to catch such person via phone, Zoom call, because even you send the document via email, you need to get in touch with him or her for the approvals, because these are all visionaries, dignitaries, really busy persons. So you need to place some calls, you need to really request them for such approval so that your work flows as a river without any obstructions. So for that, this stakeholder list is really crucial to a project manager, where we keep updating those things in terms of wishing the stakeholder birthdays, try to remember his or her daughter's son name, pet name, birthdays, anniversaries, and so on and so forth. This stakeholder register is a very crucial entity to every HR person as well. So if you are, or if you have been a part of your HR domain, you might have had such list in past. You can relate this risk to some of those risks, some of those lists, and that's why stakeholder list is one of the most crucial or important part as far as project management goes. This includes where to seek help from, who is going to approve, which scenarios, which requirements, which documents, and who is going to basically help you out to get this project executed smoothly as possible. These can also include the contact numbers, the best call timings for the SMEs and COEs of the world as well. Okay. Then we have organizational process assets updates, and these basically relates to all the quality management systems, all the helping partners throughout your organizations where you're working in for your project. Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions on direct and managed project work?
No.
Okay, chalo. Let's take a step further and let's try to understand, in terms of textual weight. This is they have also mentioned these things in PMI, like 4.3.1 direct and managed project work. The inputs are project management plan, project documents, approved change request, environmental factor, and organizational process assets. This is the way they normally mention in the PMI, and that's the image also they've included at the beginning of the chapter. So here is how we normally read these things. This image basically clarifies various different entities and parts and parcel of a process group, but this is how it's mentioned in the PM book, and you could understand it's really way you should remember to read, or you should basically try to collect the data for our understanding of a particular knowledge area, a particular process group within a knowledge area. Okay, let me try to play a video of direct and managed project work process to understand this thing in a better, more concisive scenario. Okay, give me a minute and I'll